I have tea for you today. Let's be real today and chat about social media and how it has somehow become the biggest challenge for writers in this day and age rather than, oh, I don't know, writing. So yeah, I feel like we all just constantly feel like we have to hit daily word counts and we have to stick to a certain routine and we have to look aesthetic while doing it and we have to have aesthetic workspaces and we have to jump on trends online and keep up with all of these platforms and be active everywhere and say the right thing and do the right TikTok dances and hopefully someday we'll go viral. Yet, no matter how many trends we jump on and no matter how many daily word counts we hit, we probably still feel like we are not doing good enough. We probably still feel like we're falling behind and falling short of everything that everybody else around us seems to be doing. If you share that feeling, stick around because in today's video, I will dive into the toxic side of social media and just what we can do to make these platforms work for us instead of against us. Welcome back to the Plottery, where we rewrite the rules of writing together. And remember, you write the story, you set the base. Alright, I have brewed myself some really hot tea to talk to you over today's tea that's going on in my head and to see whether I'm alone in feeling this or whether there are other authors currently watching this video who might share my opinions and frustrations with the state of our current writing community. Yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. I want to start by talking about this expectation of having to have a writing routine or having to write every single day or having to feel like, you're the type of person who can write a book in 2 or 3 months, self-publish it successfully, market it successfully, and all around just be this stand-up full-time author who has all the time on their hands and no writer's block and no lack of motivation. Yeah, how realistic is that? Really, because I feel like we keep seeing this online when writers share their writing routines or how many words they write per day, and then they make the rest of us feel like we're not doing enough. And all that really does is kind of help build up that imposter syndrome. I want to take a step back from that and think about what we can do differently in our heads and in our lives in order to not react badly when we see other people sharing stuff like that, sharing like, oh, I wrote 1,000 words today, yay, or I wrote 5,000 words this weekend or something like that. How do you reprogram your mind in order to respect that you have your own pace and that person that you're looking at or looking up to online has their own life and their own pace and their own set of predispositions for how quickly they're going to write something? I have no idea. You tell me. On a serious note though, I am a firm believer of yes, consistency matters. Like yes, you should keep writing and make writing almost like a part of your daily life. But does it need to happen every single day? Do you need to, beat yourself up if you miss a couple of days or even a couple of weeks because you're feeling low or you're just not motivated enough or you just simply didn't have the time to write? No, I think that if you are somebody who does not thrive on having writing as a part of their daily routine or on routines in general, then if you are actually taking this advice and trying to force writing into your habits, into your, having an hour at the beginning of every day where you just sit down and write, like a lot of people are currently advising, I feel like if you conform to that, when you are not the type of person to benefit from a routine, the only thing that you're gonna do is lead yourself to burnout, cause yourself more stress and frustration, and furthermore, you're gonna start to actually dislike writing. The second thing that I want to talk about is this myth of constant creativity and constant productivity. So when you log on to social media, it's inevitable that whatever people are posting about, it's going to be productive. It's going to be creative because we don't post things when we are not productive and when we are not creative. We don't post pictures of us doing nothing. We usually post pictures of us writing or pictures of us going on a writing retreat or whatnot. If we are not doing any of that, we probably won't be posting any pictures. So when you log on to social media, you are inevitably going to see stuff like that. And what that does is when it piles up and you see all these people doing all these things and you're not doing anything, again, feelings of self-doubt, feelings of imposter syndrome, that all comes crashing down onto our shoulders. But I want you to understand that that is a myth. There's probably not a single person in this world who is constantly on, who is constantly creating, who is constantly productive every single day. They make something, they share something, they're being their best selves. That's just not how a human mind operates. We cannot be on all the time. We cannot be productive all the time. We might be able to for a little while, and then we'll burn out, and then we'll just be depressed and unproductive for a very, very long time, when we could have avoided that if we had taken some rest. So point being, take rests. Be okay with taking rests. I think it's such a heavily demonized thing in our society right now to just sit back and do nothing and let your brain rest and let yourself, sit back and watch the stars or the trees or smell the scent of freshly mowed grass or things like that. I feel like it's so important for us to, especially as writers, as creatives, to just enjoy doing nothing. I think doing nothing is a really important part of the creative process, because when we do nothing, we allow our mind to rest and we allow our subconscious to do a lot of the work that is actually necessary to do to process our writing. Thirdly, we might fall into the comparison trap. Yes, we all like to have things that look pretty, and we all like to get likes online and be praised for our efforts and for our beautiful setups and beautiful words that we share online. But it's so important to remember that that's not who we are. That's not what we are. Our writing space doesn't make us a good writer. So just because somebody has a viral reel that blew up because it was super aesthetic, because it was super smart, or because they shared a nice quote from their book that was really pretty and a lot of people connected to it, it doesn't mean that that person is a good writer. You have no idea how long it took them to come up with that quote. You have no idea what their book is about. You have no idea if their book is actually any good at all. I'm just looking outside because there's people walking past with dogs, and they're probably wondering why I'm talking to a camera and sipping tea. Yeah, comparing yourself to somebody else is, I'm sure you've heard this plenty of times, but it is definitely one of the worst things that you could possibly do to your mindset, because you don't know that person. You don't know how much work they put in. You don't know how little work they put in. You don't know how long they've been doing this for. You don't know if they are a good writer, if they're not a good writer. You don't know anything about them. So to go and judge somebody by a viral reel or by the setup that they made for their workspace, which they recorded, which could have literally just been set up, which probably was, let's be real, just set up for that reel for them to record, and it probably doesn't look like that 99% of the time. To go and compare yourself to the very curated content that you see online is to do yourself a disservice as a creative. Because we don't need certain aesthetics and certain spaces in order to be creative. You just need what's in your head. And you need to start appreciating what's in your head and looking at it with a positive outlook and with a little bit more gratitude and a little bit more softness if you want to actually make use of that subconscious. And I think I talk about this a lot, but the subconscious is such a powerful thing for a writer especially. And so you want to make sure that you're nourishing it and that you're not putting too much stress on it and telling it basically that it needs to be something that it's not. It doesn't. It already has a beautiful, beautiful mind, and it can do so much work for you if you just love it and you actually let it do that work without putting additional pressure onto your subconscious and telling it, all these things, all these mistakes that it's doing, or all these things that it should aspire to. Now, I do know saying all of that is good and well, but how do you actually change your relationship to social media? How do you actually go and apply this to your daily life and change that brain wiring that you have probably been building up for years and years and years, depending on how long you have been on social media? I will share a couple of practical tips with you that you can do right now to try and better curate your content and to just strengthen that relationship that you have with your inner subconscious, your inner creative subconscious. Let's call it the creative subconscious, okay? We want to build that relationship. not relationships with other authors online that you see that you're never going to actually meet, but that relationship to yourself and to what social media can do for you. We'll do this in steps, okay? So step 1 is to set a clear intention for each platform that you use. So for me personally, I use Instagram, YouTube, and I think that's it, to be honest. I use Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. Discord is just to chat with people and to run my programs. And that's my intention for that platform. That's my connection platform. That's where I talk to people. YouTube, basically, I just kind of go on there to connect with you guys, to upload my videos, and to sometimes watch some useful stuff that I think might be inspiring. YouTube is a great platform to consume that kind of content that can actually lift you up and actually teach you something. Instagram, I actually don't spend a lot of time on, despite the fact that that is my main platform where I work, where I have over 100,000 followers, and you would think it would consume a lot of my time, but I actually only go on there for like maybe 10 to 20 minutes a day, and that's only to check our DMs and answer our messages. So I have very clear intentions set for all of these platforms, and I try to make sure that I don't use them for anything else. If I start doom scrolling, I stop myself as soon as I notice. I really try to be mindful of the way that I use these platforms. If I go on YouTube and I find myself going down a rabbit hole of videos that aren't actually good for my head or aren't actually helping me with the thing that I need help with or the thing that I set out to research or something, then I try and, again, stop myself in that and reel that back in and figure out, this is actually why I even started watching the video, or this is actually why I came onto the platform. So if you find yourself being sort of stuck on certain platforms, I think TikTok has a bad rap for that, obviously, the doom scrolling and that sort of thing. If you find yourself being stuck like that, that leads me to step 2, actually, which is to limit your time on a certain platform or choose quantity over quality. So what I mean by this is you could probably spend an hour or 2 on TikTok doom scrolling and not taking anything in and just watching a couple of videos at a time, which will maybe make you feel good, but in the long run, they'll probably make you feel bad because you've seen so many people being productive and doing productive things and doing creative things, and you're just there doom scrolling. That's bound to be the feeling that you're left with after a while. Instead of doing that, why don't you switch over to YouTube and you watch, in the space of an hour that you would have spent on TikTok, you watch, let's say, 3 very quality videos that will actually teach you something about writing and maybe leave you with actionable tips and actionable steps to take after watching that video, rather than feeling like you've just wasted your time without actually achieving or learning anything. Step number 3 is to actually curate who you follow. So I do this on a regular basis. I go and clean out my following list to make sure that I unfollow all the creators that are making me feel bad. So even if it's just someone in my industry and I see them doing better than me, or I see them getting more likes and it stings for some reason that I'm not ready to unpack yet, just unfollow them, or I mute them, or I block them, or something like that. It doesn't really matter. But if it's not feeling good for you to see somebody like that, there is no law saying you cannot block them. There's no law saying that you cannot remove that person from your timeline so that you don't see their content again. Rather than, allowing yourself to spiral and to go and stalk that person's content and see why are they doing better than me? Like, why are they getting more attention than me? What are they doing that I'm not doing? Obviously, sometimes this can be helpful for market research and stuff, but if it does actually mess with your productivity and your heart and just your will and motivation to do things, I would honestly just unfollow them, just block them, just mute them, do something, but you don't have to look at that. You don't have to do that to yourself. Step number 4 is I would challenge you that if you are an author on social media and you are creating stuff, try to create stuff before you consume stuff. So what this means is that you will not be influenced with the stuff that you see online, and you will have a less cloudy head. And also, your content will probably be more unique than if you just spend so much time consuming content, and then all of these ideas will inevitably sort of blend into one big mishmash, and you're not even going to have a clear idea of what kind of content you want to create, just that you know that it has to be like the stuff that you've seen online. When it doesn't, that's not true. The content that performs best and that goes really viral is original content. That's how trends are created. That's how people hop on trends, because somebody had an original idea at some point. But in any case, I want to remind you that your goal with social media as an author, hopefully a long-term author, is not to go viral. It's to keep creating quality content. And quality content is original content. It's not recreations of stuff that you've seen online. It's not jumping on trends. It's not doing silly dances or making memes and stuff. It's actually producing quality content for the people who follow you and making connections, because those people will stick around and you will have a much more engaged audience than you would if you had one viral video and you had, 2,000 people follow you from that and then never look at your content again because they have no idea who you are, because you were just that author doing a silly TikTok dance and you keep doing silly TikTok dances, so they're not going to connect with you. Step number 5 is to batch create your content. And this is a really simple and practical tip, and you might have probably heard this already, but I swear by batch creating content. If I had to sit down every single week or every single day and create the piece of content that I was going to post that day, I would go insane in probably 2 weeks, probably less. Let's be real. This is why batch creating content is so useful. And this is also why we don't jump on trends, because trends pass like that. And if you batch create your content, you're going to be looking out for trends and you're going to be like, oh my God, no, but by the time that my scheduled post goes up, this trend might already be up and people forget about it and whatnot. This is why we don't rely on trends. If you can hop on a trend, if you happen to, and you do a great reel and it goes viral or something because you got in early, that's great. But don't have that be part of your sort of author online strategy. Don't have that looming over your head that you have to be on a lookout for the trends and hop on them. I would really rather you focus on creating content in advance so that you can have a peace of mind and so that you can spend more time writing rather than stalking social media and making sure that your posts go up and things like that. Batch create it at least a few weeks in advance, and then you're calm and then you're okay. Like what I usually do is I take a few days. Unfortunately, I can't just take one day. Used to just take one day a month and write out all of the content. Right now we have a much bigger output, so I'm creating a lot more content. But I take a few days a month or every few weeks to sit down and batch create a bunch of content, a bunch of videos, a bunch of reels, write a bunch of carousels, things like that. So if you can set that up for yourself, I think even just doing it 2 weeks in advance is super useful. And it will create a lot of space in your head and, again, a lot more time to actually do what you were supposed to be doing, which is writing, right? All right, now that I've spilled some of the tea on the stuff that bothers me on social media and how you can hopefully avoid that and create a space online that feels aligned with you. If you are wondering and you want to dive deeper into this topic about social media and about what platform might be the best thing for you and what strategy you might need to follow in order to feel safe and like you have good foundations on social media or online and you're in your author space, I do actually have a podcast episode where I reveal what my favorite platform is, and I also reveal a neat little secret. It's not really a secret, but I guess you could call it a secret about what's actually more important than focusing on your social media. And it's not writing. It's about growing your author presence, obviously, but it's definitely the thing that you should be doing before you even really think about social media. So anyway, I hope that sounded enticing enough for you to click on my podcast next. So I will tell you now, that episode will come up on the screen in just a second, and I will hopefully see you there. Until then.